So as I was in the middle of slopping up some game assets, I thought it might be interesting to record. So I've separated the weapons into 4 different weapons, uploaded their bitmaps, and characterized them by some design criteria. So every weapon is going to have a recoil, a period, a spread factor, and a type. So the rifle, that's our default, and I was just checking the period from the code, which I'll reuse soon enough. And then the most special weapon is the sword. So we'll figure it out when we get to it. But for now, I'll just copy this structure and repeat it. This one is going to be type 1. The rocket will be a weapon distinct from the others. This will have, let's call it there for now. So then we'll have to Okay, so we have our structure and all our weapons loosely defined. Now it's time to replace all instances in code with this new structure. But first what I want to do is, let me just, so of course we still have the default rifle, but and it shouldn't matter which weapon type I choose, I'll get the same shooting effect, including the rockets, so I can safely perform the following maneuver. Inside gun controls, we will establish a switch gun. Active weapon equals active weapon plus mouse wheel mod 3 Interesting. So now I can use the mouse wheel to switch weapons, but there is one blank spot. So one interesting thing about the sword is that because it was loaded like a horizontal model, I had to create a new image and shift it over a few hundred pixels in order for the balance point or the rotation center to be at the very hilt. But now it's a question of okay, so if I'm walking forward, I carry it in front of me, and if I'm walking back, I should carry it in front of me as well, but hopefully that'll be a trivial fix in the future. So next, since we've gave it some loose parameters. Let's, I guess, cycle through them. Oh yeah, another parameter I wanted is range. Long, very important. Weapon. And as we remember, our rifle range is 200. Oh, it's fill circle. How bizarre. Perfect, yeah. Most importantly, I guess, is this trajectory with a sword. So maybe 15-ish. Yeah. I guess given that it's a radius, it doubles. Yeah, that looks very reasonable, yeah. So now, I guess the advantage of the sword is it should have no recoil, but it does freeze the frame rate since I'm slow and walking backwards. But maybe we'll give the weapons a weight and try something with that. But so the advantage of the sword is that you can't really do anything from a distance, but if you come up close, it should be a lot of damage, like in these instances. Yeah, and maybe, yeah. This could be an interesting mechanic. So let's say it does a one-shot kill, but it slows you down because you have to like swing accurately, you know. But I would say so far I'm happy with the weapon mechanics. That's another interesting problem. So if I jump with the sword, I can float in the air. But we'll worry about the sword later. Most important thing is the rifle. And the machine gun. And the rocket launcher will be done with a completely separate paradigm. So, yeah, I gotta remember that I can't scroll up for some reason, which makes no sense to me. If a number is less than 0, then how bizarre is that? The idea of the machine gun being so powerful it can lift you is kind of interesting. And of course everything will be based off the rifle in principle. So this is the most important mechanic. The sword, yeah. Might even completely change the way damage works for this. So if you're really up close, yeah, you should make easy work with the sword. So for the sword, I'm going to make the period the same as the rifle, but it will deal a lot of damage. So I guess that's a hint to the next parameter here, damage, which then suggests ID of health. So with that, I guess the natural progression is to now define enemy health. So last session, if I remember correctly, I did most of the weapon firing mechanics, as well as some recoil, suggesting the idea of weapon parameters. And then last night I had a couple of coffees and was going to very quickly finish up the weapon system, do a few flourishes, special effects, and then get straight to more mechanics and game dev, but I ended up recording like several hours of just micromanaging all the different weapons, and then got tired of it and decided to go ahead and mock up the complete level, which I guess in hindsight is even better, as to not spoil it, and then today I can finish up the last couple of critical mechanics, get back to finishing the level, and then just record a playthrough and a final overview. So let's see what we have. So I added some particle effects for special effects. I added the concept of player health. I've added several different weapons, which you can switch through right here and spend some time adjusting their parameters. So what we have is the rifle, which is like a single shot, moderate damage, moderate recoil weapon. We have the sword, which is a short range, no recoil, high damage. Then we have the machine gun, which is gonna be, you know, high recoil, high damage, but the rocket. That's gonna be the special ballistic weapon, which we'll implement in this session. So another thing you might have already noticed, every time you fire, you see a little wisp of smoke come in, and that's handled by this particle system. And finally, as well as mocking up the final level, I mocked up some rudimentary enemy behavior, such as having them march like an army, having them hold a weapon, as well as introducing the concept of enemy damage, enemy health, along with special effects indicating a successful hit. So with this rifle, I should be able to kill an enemy in 2 shots, blood splatters and all. With the sword, it's instant kill, but only at a short range. And with the machine gun, it's fairly quick, but a little cumbersome, you know. Doesn't kill him immediately, and you know, throws you around a bit, and then the rocket, yeah. And so you can anticipate that there's interesting things over here. And I've left a nice flat plane, which will be, I guess, something of like a tutorial section of every level where you just get a feel for controls, obtain some starting weapons. And for this section, having a nice flat area is going to be handy for testing different mechanics. So that being said, let's take a quick look through the code. Have a particle system, 2 kinds of particles. This is smoke, this is blood. Weapons defined by some parameters, including range, damage, recoil, whatever. Vehicles is already done. Enemies now have health as well as radius, which I'll get into later. Player movement remains the same. Now we have make gunfire particles, where we simply generate the smoke based on all the different angles. All of this is mostly the same, just taking into account weapon parameters. Then we have our weapon switching system with all the different fun things. Particles, of course. And as you can see, I've did quite a bit of fucking with the map. And at this point, I consider this a fairly complete mock-up of the level that I want, so this is what I'm gonna probably run with. And for the first simple level 1, there's really no reason to make it any more complicated. So without wasting too much time micromanaging this, we'll have to run with this. So I guess the first thing I have to address is the rocket, because for this game, the rocket will be a critical game mechanic. These are going to be conventional weapons that simply deal damage to enemies, and the rocket will be capable of doing some kind of environmental damage as well, and will be operated on a ballistic trajectory. So, as I was pondering where to attack or to begin this problem, I realized that it's actually going to be quite similar to what I did last night with the particles. Just that every rocket is basically a singular particle. So all I have to do is anytime the rocket launcher or rocket is selected as a weapon, which is weapon 3. So if active weapon equals 3 and mouse button 1, we initiate a rocket sequence for like, I don't know, 200 seconds, I guess, or 200 frames, which suggests a rocket period. We're gonna go ahead and do that. Dim shared rocket as particle type, and then dim shared and this starts out at 0. And another thing we could keep track of, just in case, I don't know, dim rocket shot. And rocket hit. Very likely that I might remove at least 2 out of the 3 of these control variables or state variables. But I'll start with them so that if I ever need to do something, I don't have to scroll all the way up to make sure. So okay, if a rocket launcher is selected and the mouse is clicked, a rocket is fired. So then down by the particle engine, we're gonna do a draw rocket. So if the rocket is shot, locate okay. And then we decrement the trajectory parameter. Um, and we do the same thing. Except this is now a rocket. We'll do the circle placeholder. Let's make it a red circle. Radius 15, nice and large. So if all of that is fine, then all I'd have to do is provide some kind of a sane position and velocity, and I should see the rocket launch already. So let's give that a try. Player movement. Sometimes gun controls, yeah. Gun controls is almost like this building in a video game that I'm always having to return to, but having to like spend several minutes finding it. It's almost like writing a video game is just like playing a video game. And yesterday's map making session had the same vibe as playing Minecraft. So I can see why people like doing this type of bullshit, but anyways. So rocket, and if I remember, there is only one rocket, so when you draw a rocket, you only draw one. Go 3x. And it's quite handy that we made the particle system based on absolute coordinates, which is precisely what we want for the rocket damage evaluation. Gun controls, yeah. Rocket, fucking x equals. Or no, it's gonna be make gunfire particles, yeah. 2yy. Just grab all of this. Yeah, to be quite honest, I'm so over talking to this microphone thing, and even over making this video game, so it's just let me grab another cup of coffee. So what the fuck was I doing? Okay, rocket x equals x, and then rocket velocity. This is so fucking boring because I've done this already like so many times. Or just 2 times, but okay. There's the rocket. Look at that. It's great, great, yeah. So then, because it's a ballistic particle, we introduce gravity. Rocket.vy, and it's either minus or plus some small value. Plus. And there's an example of a very slow rocket. I mean, just so that it's not idiotic, I'll just make it something a little more attractive. Give it maybe a 3. Too much. And of course, when you increase the velocity, you get a little more slack on the acceleration because now there we go. So now I can, with this configuration, I can see the entire trajectory in a single window or frame, which could correspond to like a minimal power. What if I make this a little faster? Let's go even faster. And then this a little faster. There we go, there's a rocket. And how about we make a lot faster? Okay, so I'll have to. The reason there's a little delay is because I need to do mouse state machine, so. Fuck it. I'll explain that later. So that's that. There's your rocket ballistic trajectory. Cancels out, so firing a really large rocket should have less recoil than firing a really heavy gun, because the momentum is instead of being transferred to the player, it's transferred to the gas from the backside. So really a rocket should have smaller recoil, and this is just something I'm going to confidently proclaim and run with. And who cares, right? Whatever, maybe 50 is fine. A compromise. So then, for the sake of aesthetics, let's draw the rocket for real. This will become a roto zoom. the fuck is the wrong part? It's gonna be this one. And then there's a rocket. I still don't know why there's a +1 here, but I'm not even gonna bother with that. So through its trajectory, we go 0.3, 0.3, and let's see what happens if we just... Oh, this is gonna be... I already know this angle. This is gonna be a tan of Vy over Vx. Let's see how off I am. I forgot the rocket image. Okay. And this is just rocket. Time is 180 over pi. And there it is. Fucking done, yeah. So then let's say this. Rocket shot, yeah. We'll follow the same structure. If rocket is shot, then, and if we take the rocket coordinates, convert them into map tile or tile coordinates. Should be right there. So these will be our rocket coordinates. These will be tile coordinates. And then we say the following. If this layer 1, I think, is non-zero, then there we go. So now our rocket is working in essence. And the brutal thing that I wanted to do is that when the rocket hits a tile, it removes it from the map. So let's see if that's even possible, which is a first time for everything situation. So let's see what the fuck would happen if I did. If doesn't equal 0, We stop the rocket by zeroing out its trajectory and by removing this tile by setting it to 0 from both layers, just in case. Holy shit. That's so fucking cool. Look at that. And that's a critical game mechanic. So now we basically have Minecraft. So one of the critical mechanics for this particular level design is that you can use rockets to destroy these kinds of bricks, and you can use rockets to destroy dirt, but you will not be able to use rockets to destroy this kind of reinforced brick. And this is mainly to make it visible to the player which sort of things you should attempt to blow up and which you shouldn't. So all I'm gonna do is make sure that only these kinds of blocks get destroyed, which are 20, 14, and 2. So back to gun control. There we go. So this will be blowable. This will be explodable. But this will not. Yeah, I don't know. I had a thought to maybe and we see it exploding on enemy contact as well as tile contact. And we know this because if it hits him, yeah, it hits him on the head, it doesn't remove any tiles. If it hits him on the body, it removes that top layer tile. And if it hits the ground, it removes 4 tile at once. So at this point, our rocket mechanism is working. One thing that I thought about doing is having it such that when you hold the... So I'm at a point in this game where I've already made the level. I've already made all the weapons. I know exactly what I'm gonna do and exactly what the levels are gonna look like. And so the only question remains is, 1, why the fuck am I doing this? And 2, why am I bothering to record this? But either way, so I just did some modding on the rocket mechanism, and I have to make sure of the following few things. Number 1, if dirt is hit, it explodes in this cross pattern. If reinforced bricks are hit, same thing. If non-reinforced bricks, that is. If reinforced bricks are hit, nothing happens because they're reinforced. If an enemy is hit from the side, it should take out about 3 to 4 enemies in its blast radius. Let's see if it works. Yeah. So if I hit head on, it should take out, let's see, quite a few, yeah. So the damage works. Also, if you explode a rocket too close to yourself, you'll take damage as indicated by this damage indicator. So if I do this, I take a bit of damage. And finally, just like other weapons create a recoil effect, firing a rocket close to you does the same. And so I was just adjusting it, how strong do I want it. So it should be like enough to really like send you up in the air, like almost like a Quake style rocket jump, but not fucking obnoxiously high. Maybe 3,500. So yeah, higher than I can jump, but not obnoxiously high. Yeah, feels about right. And if I go like this, it sends me back, forward, back, forward. Pretty parabolic trajectories, ballistic trajectories. Kills many enemies at once. Of course, taking damage along the way. And just in case, we'll head over to Steve's house here. And we see that it does no damage to reinforced bricks. And if I get too close, the explosion will send me backwards. And I'll take some damage. And seeing as that I'm the rocket operator, we'll set this damage factor to 50, just so that, or so you can do like 1 rocket jump without dying immediately, and 2 rocket jumps and you're dead. So that's fair enough. And yeah, I didn't bother making an adjustable velocity rocket because, you know, you make it too high and it'll fly across the map and you won't even see it, so what's the point? And having it kind of floppy and flaccid gives it a sort of game devy thing. And of course now you can mine straight down just like in Minecraft. And if you had to, you could mine straight up as well. So how's that for a mod? We already have effectively, what is it called, the Terraria in GX. Now I can mine down and up. Let's see if I can surface, since we're fucking gaming anyway. And yeah, I like how the recoil makes this inconvenient, as it should. firing heavy weapons should not be a trivial matter. Man, fucking fuck. And there we go. We mined our way back to surface using rockets, which perhaps indicates a certain secret mechanic in this level. So I can't even tell you how annoyed I am, not only programming this bullshit, but also speaking to a microphone. But one thing I wanted to test here real quick is make sure that all enemy guns are pointing at me in the correct configuration. That is, as you can see, it always looks like the player is coherently holding the gun, because you have to do a little conditional about the, of course not too important, but just so that it doesn't look too B plus the fuck out, might as well do it right. So if I go here, he's pointing down, pointing up, pointing up, pointing down, and now it appears that all player guns point at me at all times, meaning that if I put a, let's say an enemy entity right here, let me just expose the tile information. So let's put an enemy right here guarding this barrel, for example. So that's 2767 1020, 2767 1020. Two 767 1020. So then 2019 put him there, and we'll call him 20. It's really not bad to start unrolling these loops, because once I get enemy behavior, the rest of the section is just going to be level design and then finishing touches. And then here we go -1. Okay, so here we have a standing enemy, and he always points the gun at me. And so the idea is that once I get in a certain range, he'll start firing randomly and doing random periodic bouts of damage. Well, now he's dead. But let's do this again. Points correctly. So the next part is having him shoot.